Hello there, my name is Castle, and what I have here for you today is the beginning of a new series of Dominion 6. Now, I've never done something like this before, and the only reason I'm starting is that I'm taking part in Lucid's 2025 Dominion 6 tournament. I'm playing in game 49, and I thought it would be a lot of fun doing a series on this. Let's just explain real quick what we are going to do in this video. I plan on doing a national overview for the nation I picked, and after that I'll quickly explain the pretender we created. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. We are playing in Middle Age, and the nation we picked is Jotunheim, Iron Woods. Well, what can we say about the lore of this nation? I think it's just best to quickly read out this text here. Jotunheim is a land of bitter winters and cool summers. It is the home of the Jotuns, a race of giants descendant from the Rimtursa, frost giants of godlike powers, sprung from glacial ice at the dawn of time. These primordial giants were hunted and slain by a god of thunder. Thunder and lightning still recognize their old quarry, and the Jotuns greatly fear the wielders of lightning bolts. Jotuns are stronger and tougher than other giant races, and they are almost impervious to the cold of winter. Jotunheim has no king, and is ruled by several jarls, who rarely join forces. In the heart of Jotunheim lies an ancient forest of iron and ice. Here live the Jarnvidur, Gigyas from an earlier era, endowed with unequaled sorcerous powers. They are served by the Vetir, who are small wicked goblins of the Jotun woodlands. The Vetir rarely venture outside the woodlands, but do join the armies of Jotunheim when the Gigyas bid them to. The people of Jotunheim prefer to live in very cold provinces. Yeah, that's the lore of our nation. Our race is cold resistant, prefers cold scale +2. Our military consists of giant infantry, Vetir, and wolf riders, who are also Vetir. Our magic axis is water, blood, death, glamour, astral, and nature. Our priests are average, scales and blesses. We start with a cold limit +1. Buildings, we have giant forts, and forts reduce cold scale deaths by 1 step. Yeah. First we are going to talk about our commanders, and after that, of course, about the units. So to start off, we have a Jotun scout here. Just a giant scout, and how the hell is he even stealthy? But let's not worry about that. He is susceptible to shock. That's a common theme with the giants, just as mentioned by the lore. We are cold resistant. That's also a common thing. Snow move, also a common thing. Stealthy, of course, as a scout. Don't ask me how. Mountain survival, forest survival. And that's it. Nothing more to say about the scout. He looks nice, but that's it. Next, we have a chief, who is a Vetir, some small little goblin type creature. And again, we have cold resistance here, snow move, stealth, which is awesome because this guy can lead troops around. And when we talk about the units later, you'll see exactly what types of units we are going to lead with this. Forest survival and pillager. Pillager is also nice if you are planning on doing some raiding. Yeah, and the guy rides on a wolf, and he has decent stats here. High defense because he is mounted, and other than that, he has a lot of map move, which is again really helpful when raiding. Yeah, pretty solid unit, pretty solid commander. Next we have a common leader for our giants, a Jotun hearse. With the giants you always have a lot of hit points and high strength. And most of our units also have quite high protection. The stats on this guy are decent, a little bit above average. He has a broadsword with high damage because of our high strength, of course. And he is sacred. Other than that, just the usual stuff that our giants get. Well, just a regular leader. He can lead 75 guys and up to 2 squads without any morale bonus or penalty. Next, we have our Jotun Gode, a level 2 priest. This is the highest level of priest we can get. He is sacred, of course, and again, just the usual stuff. The stats are decent, and yeah, that's basically it. A bit lower protection than our other leader, but as a priest, level 2, yeah, I mean, nothing to really complain about. Then we have our Jotun Jarl. Now these guys are really good. We are going to recruit a lot of these. They have high protection, decent stats. They are priests, only level 1 though. And they have a broadsword. And the most important thing is that they only have recruitment points 1, which means your fort gives you 2 recruitment points per turn, and you can actually recruit 2 of these guys every turn instead of only 1 of these here. I mean, they are a higher level of priests, yeah, but they are still a priest. The Jotun Jarl is perfectly capable of blessing your troops, your sacred troops. And that's what we really need the priests for in the early game. So these guys are what we are going for. Really good commander. Next we have the Veti Hag. The Veti Hag is a Vatir, of course. So, we haven't even talked about it, but the Vatir, they are smaller than humans, obviously. They are little goblins. They are only size 2, and with 10 size points per square, you can fit 5 of these into 1 square. So that means they have a good attack density. Doesn't really matter because this is a mage and you don't want them in combat. But yeah, that's a thing with the Vatir. The Veti Hag gets 1 random magic path, and they can be recruited in forests where you have a lab, which is really useful. They are stealthy, old age, which isn't that nice, but it also doesn't matter that much, and they are bad researchers. They'll be really useful for site searching and for summoning units, all those little tasks that your important mages are too important to do, basically. Okay. Next we have our main mage, the Gigya. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, I have no idea. I've heard other people say Gigya. I've heard other people say Gaija. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Yeah, this is our main mage. It comes with 3 magic paths and 1 random path. Again, the usual stuff for the giants here, but we also have this here, Fortune Teller. Now what does it mean? Fortune Teller enables the unit to prevent bad events. If you have misfortune scales and you get a lot of bad events, well, this unit here will be able to prevent some of it. Other than that, well, just a solid mage overall. A bit pricey, but hey, that's the giants for you. Their commanders are usually a bit more expensive. And that's just how it is. Next we have the Jotun Scruddy. The Jotun Scruddy is interesting, really interesting. He comes with an access to water and to blood, both level 2. And he gets a random path, water, death, glamour or blood. And this guy is a shape changer. He can shape change into a werewolf and a regular wolf. He has decent stats, pretty mediocre protection. He is more expensive than the other mage. But these guys, they are essential for one of the strategies you can use as Jotunheim. And we'll talk about that later. But apart from that, also a solid mage with some interesting abilities. I mean, this one in particular. You can definitely make these into thugs to raid the enemy. Next, we have the Thrimskode. These guys are also quite nice, also quite expensive, but they come with good protection, decent stats, some water magic. They are priests level 2. They get a random path. They are sacred. They have the usual stuff, but they get some on top. They have this chill aura here, which can freeze enemy units basically. They have cold power, so they get increased stats in cold provinces. And they have ice protection. They get better protection in cold climate. They wield a battle axe. And I think you can make these into pretty good thugs as well. Yeah. Interesting unit, interesting commander. And last but not least, we have the Jan Vidya. This is similar to our main mage. We get the same paths here, but we get more randoms. We get 100% 3 times, and then a 10% chance on top. Old age, not that nice, but it won't matter that much. Fortune teller, again. Death curse, this is new. Anyone killing this being will be cursed for the rest of his life. So if you kill one of these, you get cursed. And cursed, that just means you have worse luck in battles. And for some reason they are adept crossbreeders. So there's a crossbreeding spell, and yeah, they are just better at it. They have a claw attack and a slap attack. The slap attack is funny because it can decrease the enemy's size. Here, extra effect on damage, shrink. Yeah, so they are a bit more powerful than the other mage and can be useful because they make it easier to put up some big spells, but I'm not sure if we are going to recruit a lot of these. So that's the commanders. Next we have the units. First our Vedi Archer. The Vedi Archer is a Vedi, of course, and is also stealthy, because that's what the Vedi do. They are stealthy little goblins. This guy has a short bow, and I'm not sure if I'm going to recruit these at all. I might if the necessity arises. Sometimes it's good to recruit some archers if you want to conquer a province that is that has barbarians in it, for example, an independent province with barbarians, and barbarians have very low protection, so short bows are quite useful against them. But other than that, yeah, it only makes sense to get these if you face an opponent that also has a lot of troops with low protection. Then they can be useful, I guess, but yeah, highly situational. Next we have a regular Vedi. This guy comes with a spear, and he has average stats, defense a bit above average. Yeah, nothing much to say about this guy. Stealthy, but the thing is, they are on foot and they have low map move, so you can't really capitalize on them being stealthy, because they are just so goddamn slow. This guy, on the other hand, isn't very slow. He is quite the opposite. He can move around really quick, because he is riding a wolf. He's also a Vedi, so he's stealthy. And he has a spear, relatively high defense, because he is mounted, and 2 attacks, of course. The spear attack here, and the wolf also gets an attack. Yeah, these are awesome. Awesome little raiders. And we'll get quite a lot of these. Next, we have our first giant unit, the Jotun Bondi. This guy is basically our equivalent to militia. He has average stats, a little bit above average protection. He gets an axe. Yeah, and that's it. Nothing more to say about him. Next we have the Jotun Javelinist. This guy just gets a javelin on top of an axe. Average stats. Same protection as the Jotun Bondi. And that's about it. Next we have the Jotun Spearman. This guy comes with a spear, who would have guessed. Average stats. Really high protection. Yeah, and that's about it. Next we have the Jotun Axeman. He has an axe, woo! High protection again, average stats, and that's all. Next we have an interesting one. The Jotun Hurler. This guy throws boulders. I wouldn't say this is that useful in combat, especially since his stats are pretty bad and his protection is just the usual for our giants, nothing extraordinary. But he has this here, siege bonus, which means he is more effective when sieging a fort. If we have a look here, he has a siege strength of 9, or 9.4 to be precise, and that is a lot. So if you want to really take down a fort quickly, these guys might be a good option. But again, I'm not sure if we are going to need them, especially since our normal troops, the Jotun Spearmen as an example, our regular troops have already pretty high siege strength, so it might not even be necessary to get the Jotun Hurlers. Next, we have the Moose Rider. This is the last unit in the Vedi roster, and we have 2 Vedi riding a moose. They are quite fast, map move 20, the same as the Wolf Riders. They are stealthy again. They are mobile archers, which means they are able to fire when moving. And yeah, they are archers, so I'm not sure if we want to recruit them at all, for the reasons that I already stated. Next we have the Jotun Huskarl. Again, this guy gets an axe. He is a good bodyguard, or a bodyguard, let's say. He has decent stats, nothing special. Protection of 15. Yeah. All these giants, they don't differ too much from each other. Next we have the Godi Huskarl. He is also a bodyguard. Decent stats. 16 protection, a spear and a javelin. Yeah. Next we have the Jotun Hildman. This guy gets a broadsword. Decent stats. I think these are the highest we get on our regular troops. High protection. And yeah, that's about it. Next we have another interesting one, the Ulfhedin. This guy is dressed the same way as our scout. He is wearing a wolf pelt, so his protection isn't all that good. His stats also are only average, but he gets this here, regeneration 10%. So this guy, if he gets wounded, he'll recover his health, his hit points. Yeah, but that's basically all about this guy. He is relatively expensive, but requires only a very small amount of resources. So especially in the beginning, where you are still lacking resources because you only control your capital, they can be a nice addition to your first expansion party. And last but not least, we have our sacred unit, the Thrym's Hirding. Quite pricey, at 100 golds and 43 resources are also quite expensive, but they get ice protection, just as our, what was his name, Thrym's Goda here, this commander, he also gets ice protection. The Thrym's Hirding is sacred, of course, has also a chill aura, and other than that, the usual stuff. They have a broadsword, decent stats, and really high protection, which gets even higher if they are fighting in a cold province. So these guys make decent expanders, and it's worth considering giving them a bless. Which brings us to our next topic. Oh, before that, our magic sites we get in our capital, the Iron Woods. We get 2 Death Gems, 1 Astral Pearl, and 1 Glamour Gem, and it enables the recruitment of the Ulfheaven and of the Jan Vidya. The other side is Thrimsheim. It enables the Thrimskode and Thrimsirding, and it gives us 1 Water Gem per month. Now, Pretender design. Let's load up our Pretender real quick. Vadim, the ice cream vendor. We use Frostfather, mainly because of his magic paths. Because of these two, we were really efficient with our design points. We have 0 points left. And this is the bless we went for. A lot of defense, spirit side, magic weapons, awareness, and heroism. We want to make our sacreds more survivable. That's why we went with the defense. Spirit side and magic weapons, that's to counter potential enemy blesses. Awareness, again, this makes them more survivable, especially since giants tend to get surrounded a lot. And heroism, this one just gives them extra stats, which will make them better at fighting and more survivable again. Our magic is, yeah, pretty good. I mean, a good ice cream vendor has to have a lot of flavors, and we have all of them. Yeah, we got every magic path here. And our Pretender is dormant, so he'll come online after the first year. For scales, we have 5 candles, neutral order, neutral production. We went with cold 3 because we like the cold and it won't hurt us that much. We have neutral growth. We went with misfortune 1, but we have our fortune tellers, so we can mitigate the effect of the bad events. And we have drain 1, which was a choice I made to afford this bless here, and it won't be that big of a deal. So that's our god. And the idea here is that we have a lot of options because of the good magic access, and we have a bless that enables us to expand pretty well and to potentially counter enemy blesses. Yeah, and that's basically it. So with this, the video is coming to an end, and it is the first one of its kind. Next, I'll be starting doing the turns, and I'll be doing 4 turns per episode. Yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Have a nice day, and see you next episode.